I used to love Nora's obsession with data. She counted miles, macros, minutes of REM, like she was training for a life she wanted us both to live. Lately, the numbers stopped adding up. Her Fitbit showed 8,000 steps between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. She claimed she crashed early. Our Nest app warmed the house at 1:17 a.m. Then the front door unlocked at 1:19 and relocked at 1:21. Weird glitch, she said, kissing my cheek without quite landing. I'm a data analyst. Glitches talk to me. I checked our joint Lyft history. A receipt at 1:07 a.m. from Keller Square, a part of town with co-working lofts and bars that pretend they're not bars. She blamed late-night product testing with her startup. I wanted to believe her. I wanted the same certainty I get when a formula returns clean. But the formula was her, and the output was off. She started wearing lipstick to run to CVS, started locking her phone with Face ID after 6 years of not bothering. Friday, I found a hotel key card in the dryer. White plastic, no logo, magnetic strip scuffed like it had stories. I placed it on the counter. Nora stared at it like it might bite, then slid it into a drawer with the spatulas. That night, while she finished a sprint, I lay awake, watching our ceiling fan carve the dark into neat slices, and realized the numbers weren't just wrong. They were telling me a truth I didn't want to hear. Chapter 2. The Loft on Keller Square. I stopped asking and started measuring. I dropped a tile tracker into the lining of Nora's tote, told myself it was cowardly, told myself it was survival. At 9:42 p.m. on Wednesday, the tile pinged. Keller Square, second floor of an old brick warehouse renovated into creative studios and $14 coffee. I drove over, parked 2 blocks out, and watched the glow of Edison bulbs through tall windows. People moved inside, silhouettes laughing, someone plucking at a guitar. At 10:11, Nora's shifted to the back stairwell. I slipped down the alley, staying in the hush between streetlights, and saw her pass a man on the landing. Not a co-worker I recognized. Tall, salt at the temples, the kind of confidence you can't buy with a hoodie and venture funding. They didn't touch, but they didn't need to. Their bodies found a familiar orbit. Back home, a padded envelope sat in our mailbox, my name misspelled. Inside, a fob on a branded key ring, Harbor House Retreat Center, and a printed welcome letter addressed to Ms. Nora Hale plus guest. Dates, next month. Couples package. Massage, mindfulness, deeper connection. I stared at the handwriting, hers, on the booking notes. Vegan meals, no alcohol. The details were ours. The recipient wasn't. I Googled Harbor House. The resident relationship consultant, featured on the homepage, smiled back from a crisp headshot. Dr. Adrian Keller. Keller Square. My wife's late-night testing had an address and a name. I stopped asking and started measuring. I dropped a tile tracker into the lining of Nora's tote, told myself it was cowardly, told myself it was survival. At 9:42 p.m. on Wednesday, the tile pinged. Keller Square, second floor of an old brick warehouse renovated into creative studios and $14 coffee. I drove over, parked 2 blocks out, and watched the glow of Edison bulbs through tall windows. People moved inside, silhouettes laughing, someone plucking a guitar. At 10:11, Nora's shifted to the back stairwell. I slipped down the alley, staying in the hush between streetlights, and saw her pass a man on the landing. Not a co-worker I recognized. Tall, salt at the temples, the kind of confidence you can't buy with a hoodie and venture funding. They didn't touch, but they didn't need to. Their bodies found a familiar orbit. Back home, a padded envelope sat in our mailbox, my name misspelled. Inside, a fob on a branded key ring, Harbor House Retreat Center, and a printed welcome letter addressed to Ms. Nora Hale plus guest. Dates, next month. Couples package. Massage, mindfulness, deeper connection. I stared at the handwriting, hers, on the booking notes. Vegan meals, no alcohol. The details were ours. The recipient wasn't. I Googled Harbor House. The resident relationship consultant, featured on the homepage, smiled back from a crisp headshot. Dr. Adrian Keller. Keller Square. My wife's late-night testing had an address and a name. The next morning, Nora suggested therapy to reset. I almost laughed. We ended up in a tasteful office with a fiddle leaf fig that looked better watered than our marriage. The door plaque read Dr. Adrian Keller. He stepped out, salt and pepper, warm grin, that TED Talk cadence that sells insight in 50-minute blocks. For 3 sessions, he asked excellent questions. He held eye contact with me. He held Nora with something else. I watched his pen hover when she spoke, the way he mirrored her posture like a dance he already knew. After session 3, I asked to use the restroom and instead found the side exit. A staff lot behind the building. A black Audi with a Harbor House parking tag. I took photos, then photographed the discreet HK monogram stitched inside Nora's new tote. That night, I cross-referenced our calendar with Dr. Keller's published workshop dates. Nora's girls' weekends matched his retreats like teeth in a zipper. The Lyft pickups clustered around Keller Square and the clinic. My spreadsheet filled with timestamps and sick feeling. I didn't want to be a detective in my own house, but the therapist who was supposed to help us was the variable wrecking the model. On our 4th session, Keller suggested a private intensive at Harbor House. Nora glanced at me, hopeful. I said yes because sometimes you don't spring the trap. You let the fox walk into the light. Harbor House sat on a bluff that smelled like cedar and good intentions. Couples wandered the grounds, clutching herbal tea like talismans. Keller greeted us at check-in with his hand on my shoulder and his eyes on Nora's. He booked us in Cottage Cypress 3. My palms sweated around the key. That night after the group circle, I told Nora I needed air and went for a walk that wasn't a walk. The staff wing was quiet. Keller's office door stood ajar. Inside, a small altar of self-help. Rocks stacked on driftwood, a framed quote about radical honesty. On the credenza, a bowl of key cards. I didn't touch anything. I didn't have to. I slipped back to Cypress 3 and set my phone under the armchair in record mode. A boundary I hated crossing and crossed anyway. At 1:06 a.m., the door clicked. Footsteps. Whispered apologies. Keller's voice, intimate and careful. We'll keep it contained. He needs this story to stay about him. Nora's reply was a sound I knew from before we belonged to calendars. They spoke in fragments, workshop, orbit, the way you see me. Then the kind of silence you wish you could forget. By morning, my phone held 38 minutes of everything I needed and nothing I could unhear. During Couples Circle, Keller asked me to share a fear. I said losing myself, and watched him nod like a man blessing a bridge he'd already burned behind me. I waited until checkout when the staff was busy laundering sheets scented like lavender and amnesia. In the main lounge, with other couples within earshot and a wall of windows framing the kind of ocean view brochures promise, I set my phone on the live edge table and pressed play. Keller's voice filled the room, soft and unmistakable. Nora went white, then red, then small. Someone dropped a mug. The manager hustled over. A counselor froze mid-stride. I didn't look away. When the recording ended, I picked up the Harbor House fob and set it beside the bowl of branded stones. Radical honesty, I said. Right. Keller opened his mouth, then closed it. Nora touched my sleeve and whispered, Liam, please. I kept my voice even. I'm not shouting. I'm resigning. I told the manager we'd be billing for a refund and a complaint to the licensing board. I told Keller to lose my number. I told Nora I'd move in a Ben's spare room for now and email her the spreadsheet, dates, receipts, the map of exactly where we left each other. On the drive home, the coast unspooled beside me, gray and clean. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt accurate. Back in our kitchen, I packed a duffel, fed our dog, and wrote a note that wasn't poetry. We could divide the house without destroying ourselves. I won't be your secret keeper. If you want repair, start with truth. Then I locked the door behind me and stepped into a life with fewer numbers and more air.